Hello, everybody. My name's Ariel. I'm an artist. More importantly, I'm an artist who really needs to start posting her work more on the internet. So, here we are doing a quick draw. Doing a quick draw of something very important to me because we are going to be drawing a cover for a book that I just wrote that I'm currently trying to publish. But before I tell you much more about that, let's go ahead and start the quick draw. Alright, so the book is called Clicks and Whistles. It is set in an alternate history where mermaids are like a definitively, scientifically recognized offshoot of the human race. And you're about to see me really struggle with the selection tool as I get to the main part of this. There it is. It's the squigglies. It's been so long since I've drawn that I forgot how most of the tools work. And so, Richard Hawkes is a marine biologist / linguist who learned how to talk to whales. And at the beginning of the book, when we meet him, he is following... And at the beginning of the book, when we meet him, he is following a pod of orcas, and the orcas tell him where he can find an alive group of mermaids. And so after getting the approval of the colleges that he works for, he goes on a trip in his research vessel to go talk to mermaids. And as he does so, he, learns more about the history between humans and mermaids and comes across some really fun moral dilemmas, which are always fun to write. But yeah. So I started this by just, I started doing the tail first and really trying to, I wanted the tail to frame everything else. I like the mermaid tail being, right front and center. And it also makes it really nice. It, directs your eye from the top of the page down to everything else, because usually when you're looking at a book cover you scan the top first because that's where you expect the title to be. I don't actually end up putting the title at the top, but it's toward the top. It's top adjacent, like switches. They're top adjacent. I wanted to do a mermaid tail, overshadowing the sailboat that Richard is working off of. I was able to bust out this sailboat really well. Some people draw hands really well. Some people draw faces really well. Some people are like me and can just bust out sailboats like no tomorrow. I've sketched out the mermaid tail, and I've sketched out the sailboat beneath it, and I'm really trying to work on what I want to do with the mermaid tail. My original idea was to do, sound waves in it, like it's a sonogram type of thing. And so you see me playing with that for a little bit. And I like the idea in theory. And I think I executed the sound waves pretty well. I just didn't like how it looked in the piece in general. I slowly realized over the course of the quick draw that there was no good way to make this work. Everything you see here ends up not working. And in the immortal words of Drawfee, who are why I'm doing a quick draw in the first place, who are why I thought this would be a good idea, I ended up deleting my art. Delete your art if you need to. But yeah, I actually like how the sound wave looks. And I copy and pasted and futz around with it a little bit because I'm lazy. I actually end up just drawing all of the individual sound waves regardless. I couldn't find a way to do it in this piece that would look good. I think really and truly, at a certain point, it starts to look too much like tie-dye. Which is... Here's me struggling with the select tool again. It's not the vibe I was going for. Tie-dye is a vibe. It's just not my vibe. I wanted to kind of make this look like a sort of scientific sketch, kind of, almost. Like the cover to a scientific analysis. In fact, I'm thinking about changing the title from Clicks and Whistles to Clicks and Whistles, a scientific study on ichthyosapien communication by Richard Hawkes. You know, sort of playing into, like this is a document that exists in that world. Which is one of my favorite tropes from, like, early classic literature. Like, for my horror fans out there, or for any of my fans out there, I've been reading a lot of classic horror literature lately. I've read Dracula, I've read Frankenstein, and I've read, The Island of Dr. Moreau. All amazing books. I think probably my favorite was Dracula. And then each one of those books, it's not just like a book on its own. Like, it doesn't just start with On the Island of Dr. Moreau or I Walked into Dracula's Castle. It starts with like an in-depth explanation of why this book is being written in universe. Like, Dracula isn't just a book about Dracula. It's a collection of every character's, like, journal entries and newspaper clippings relating to Dracula. This was when I realized I really don't like the sound waves, so I tried doing, like, ripples within the tail, and, like, trying to suggest the shape of the tail with the ripples. Because I'm like, these could be sonic booms or water ripples. Wouldn't that be neat? That idea didn't last long. But it was an idea. I finally give up on the idea. I moved the tail to a separate layer. And so that I could have it at a different opacity than the sailboat. And I decided I wanted to give up on the tail and, like, focus on something else. So I started detailing the waves a little bit. But yeah. After I did the waves, I ended up starting on, like, the shading of the sailboat and everything. I really like Hellboy comics. And so I have a very, like, Mike Mignola-esque shading style with, like, very harsh lines. I have a lot of harsh triangles in my stuff. I feel like Mike Mignola has a lot more harsh trapezoids in his shading. And that could just be because usually whenever I see Mike Mignola shading something, it's Hellboy's big head, which is very trapezoidal. But if y'all have not read Hellboy comics, or at the very least have not seen any of the Hellboy art, I highly encourage you. Again, even if you don't end up reading the comics, at least read the books. At least look at the art for it, because it's some really good stuff. And it's inspired a lot of my art pieces. You can't really see a lot of the inspiration in this piece, but it's there. It's there, I promise ya. Fun fact, and if you know Hellboy comics, you probably know this. The Disney movie Atlantis: The Lost Empire its art style was based off of the Mike Mignola art style. And I actually took, in terms of like story beats, this story takes a lot of inspiration from Atlantis: The Lost Empire as well as Indiana Jones stories. Of course, with less of the white savior kind of thing, I do my best to avoid tropes like that. My beautiful girlfriend helps me a lot with that, and I greatly appreciate my girlfriend very much for helping me be such a great creator. Y'all should appreciate my girlfriend too. Each and every person who watches this video should be commenting, "I appreciate Ariel's girlfriend oh so very much." Unless you didn't like the video, in which case, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. I don't want to hear that. I'm sad. Don't let me know you didn't like it. I'll cry. I started on a different path after I had finished coloring in the ship and everything, where I wanted to do the Phoenician alphabet in the background, because that's like the first alphabet, and it has some plot significance in the story. I won't say too much about that, but the Phoenician alphabet, it's important in there. For those of you who don't know, the Phoenicians were one of the first people to do alphabets. And they're really cool for that. Their alphabets are goated. And so I decided to do that instead of sound waves or anything, because this still gets that like linguistic aspect into it, without looking like tie-dye. I do the whole alphabet and then copy and paste it throughout the rest of the screen. I wanted to see how it would look like covering the entire page, and then I ended up not liking it like that. So most of this gets deleted, but watch me do this anyway. I was on call with my girlfriend, again, in the comments, tell my girlfriend how amazing they are. And I was like, as I was doing this, what the hell is this character? This one's just straight up a squiggly down the middle. And then moments later, nailed it. And this happened so many times. Just like, how the hell am I supposed to do that one? Nailed it. Not even worried about it. Again, this ends up looking too busy. I copied and pasted them just because I wanted to have a backup, which demonstrates more forethought in my art process than, is usually present. I went to my backup and I tried to futz with, like, where the letters are. And I think I eventually settled on having the letters just in that little cove in the tail. I forgot, I messed with the letters not being in the tail, but being everywhere else. But then I ended up, again, copy and pasting, making another layer, because I'm also very smart, and I always demonstrate this level of care in the artistic process, and I definitely don't bumble about like a stupid idiot. And yeah, this is the one I end up going with. And I'm like, ooh, I like that. And then you get to see me mess with fonts. But yeah. Atlantis, the Lost Empire, I actually think was my first introduction to the idea that linguistics were like a thing that were studied. You know? Like, I had never heard anyone talk about studying languages and, like, how languages are formed. I've heard about people learning languages. I had never heard of the word linguistic, until Atlantis, the Lost Empire. And now here we are. I've written a whole book on a word I don't know the meaning of. But yeah. And then, after I get it positioned, I decide the top was still too bare, so I ended up doing some, like, just little corners. Little cheese wedges to go into corners. Make it look more, just to fill that empty space. Make it look, I don't know, more cohesive. I'm really excited for this book. And I did a lot of really cool, fun things with it. I don't want to give too much away, because if I start talking too much about all of the fun things that I did while writing it, I'll give it away, and then no one will want to buy the book. Or maybe y'all will, but, you know, I'm banking on people not wanting to read a book that they've been spoiled for. So I have to keep my trap shut, and I have to do so while my girlfriend isn't here, which is exponentially harder because my girlfriend is the one who tells me when to shut up. And there it is. It should be fading onto the screen now. The cover for my book, Clicks and Whistles by Ariel M.J. Grafton. I'm very excited for this. I'm very excited to finally post to YouTube and to post talking about it more. If you want to read an excerpt, if this video interests you and you want to read an excerpt, go check out my Tumblr. I should be posting it there soon. If not already, by the time this video goes up, I should be posting it there. And then you can help me publish this, and get my start in the world, because if I can get this published, I have so many ideas. My little ADHD brain is going all over the goddamn place and really wants to make more content. But so far, that's all I got for now. Thank you for watching. Bye.